Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Black Hole Podcast entitled Femme Party, which is also the title of a book I've written, and I'm reading that book chapter by chapter, episode by episode on Season 2 of the podcast. Today we'll be reading Chapter 8, but before I begin reading, I like to precursor by saying any money raised, any profit from this book will go towards starting a technology company similar to the one proposed in this book and building a solar farm in my hometown. So go to my website, plotm.com, that's plot, the letter m.com, or mitchformayor.com, that's Mitch, the number 4, mayor.com, to find a link to the book. It's 99 cents on Amazon. You can also search Amazon Kindle, the title Femme Party, and find the book and buy it and share it with others. Thank you. So I'm going to get started on Chapter 8. The wrap party for the first season of Racing for Change is being held at the Utica Volunteer Fire Hall. The room is full of the 12 celebrity men that contributed to each episode. Some Netflix, spelled Netflix, executives and crew of the show. Mitch stands on the small stage giving a speech about the show and the programs that have sprouted from it. As he wraps up his speech, a Netflix executive shouts from the back, "What's in store for the next season?" Mitch says, "Good question. We're going aquatic for Season 2. You may all be familiar with compressed air powered cars. A company in France makes them along with compressed air electric generators. I would like to partner with this company for Season 2 and build compressed air powered pontoon boats. Pontoon boats already have basically large air tanks as part of their structure. So we're going to build boats that have a built-in compressor to fill the tanks. Then we'll have a propeller that is powered by compressed air. Each episode will be a different build with different gear ratios for the propellers. At the end of each episode, we will race the boats on a course at Conneaut Lake here in western Pennsylvania. Proceeds from the show will go toward building compressed air stations on some of the lakes in western Pennsylvania so that people operating these boats can pull up and fill up with compressed air to continue boating throughout the day. The boats we build will be donated to different lakes so that people can rent the boats. That's my idea for Season 2 of Racing for Change. I hope you high-powered executives can get us renewed for a second season on that." The cast and crew clap and whistle. Mitch exits the stage and joins the party, grabbing a beer from a cooler filled with ice. As he mingles with some of the crew, Brad Pitt, Bruce Willis, Emma Stone, and the other 10 celebrity men from sports and entertainment gather around Mitch. Emma says, "What a great idea, compressed air-powered boats. Love it." Brad says, "We could equip them with solar panels on the roofs to power the built-in compressor on sunny days." Bruce says, "We would have to put in a switch so that the pontoon tank is being used for power while the other one is being filled by the compressor." Mitch says, "These are great ideas, and each week we'll add more ideas so that we can show people how to build these boats." Brad says, "We are going to continue to capture the process of converting old cars to electric vehicles with our production company, but we should be able to produce this season as well if Netflix isn't on board. Where do you plan on doing the builds?" Mitch says, "Meadville is near Conneaut Lake and houses the machine shops we used for our EV conversions. I was thinking we would buy a warehouse near Meadville to do the builds since it's so close to Conneaut Lake. That would leave the garage available to continue shooting video of electric vehicle builds." Bruce says, "The guys were wondering how they could be involved in the second season. Are we allowed to have celebrity repeats on the show?" Mitch says, "I would rather not repeat and allow other celebrities to get involved. But I do have a project for you guys from Season 1. At one end of Conneaut Lake, there is a small old amusement park. In addition to some rides, There are many cottages and some lakefront houses. I was hoping you guys would come together and buy the park and some adjacent lake houses. We could make a series about how you guys convert the old amusement park into the first entirely green, energy-powered amusement park. I'm talking solar panels under the sidewalks and in the parking lots. We could develop a way to capture the waves from the lake and convert them to electricity. It's a beautiful lake, and you guys could keep the park open to only a few people at a time. People would probably come from far and wide to pay a premium for a ticket if they may get a chance to see you coming out of your lake house and walking around the park. Plus, your kids would probably enjoy spending their summers living in an amusement park, especially if it's the most environmentally friendly one in existence. Emma says, that probably would be an interesting TV show. A bunch of celebrities converting an old spooky amusement park into a sustainable retreat. Can I host that one too? Brad says, we could keep the park closed some of the time so that we can just enjoy our kids and grandchildren without people rushing us for autographs. It would be cool to have a large property on a lake to roam about without being bothered. Bruce says, next you're going to suggest one of us run for mayor of Conneaut Lake. Mitch says, that would be up to you. I just believe that people from Pittsburgh would travel to a carbon-neutral amusement park. I don't recommend getting involved in politics unless you have to. Brad says, our production company can definitely shoot this amusement park thing. Don't even bother telling Netflix about it. We'll all meet and come up with a new list of 12 celebrities for Season 2 of Racing for Change. Between the 24 of us, we'll pitch in to buy the park and houses. Then we can rent the houses out to other celebrities if we don't find ourselves in Western PA as much as we would like. The project will eventually pay for itself. Angelina Jolie, Lucy Lowe, Mitch, and Sarah are all gathered in a conference room at the old brewery. On the large monitor, the screen is split into many boxes with a myriad female Hollywood celebrities. It is a conference call with the major stakeholders of the company. Lucy says, thanks to all of your lobbying, we have gotten word that California is going to require the biped app to be standard equipment in all motor vehicles sold in the state. Mitch says, great work, people. I think Angelina has an idea she wants to share. Angelina says, thanks, Mitch. I'll try to be brief. I want to introduce a new feature to our Bloody platform. As you know, we have elected block leaders through the app. I want to allow for a package captain for each block. This is a way to reduce the number of packages being stolen from people's porches. The package captain is ideally someone who works from home or is home most of the time, possibly retired. We work with the shipping companies and they give us a kickback for designating one address for all the packages on the block. The package captain gets paid from these kickbacks for making themselves available to their neighbors. The package captain keeps some hours in the morning and in the evening for neighbors to come to their house and get their packages. The captain immediately receives all packages and stores them in their house so that they are not sitting out vulnerable. The packages have a QR code on them to notify people when their package is scanned and received by the package captain. When the customer gets their package from the package captain, they scan the code on their phone to acknowledge they received the package. Lucy says, so nobody is obligated to use the package captain option, but the kickbacks may be higher from the shipping company if everyone on the block agrees to use this method. Angelina says, exactly. Everyone is free to receive normal service, but the streamlined method benefits the shipping companies. Mitch says, sounds like a great way to combat porch piracy. If we can all vote using your devices, the results will come to Lucy's computer. We'll put someone on the project if it is passed. Lucy says, and it looks like the project is adopted. Thanks for the votes. Mitch says, now, Sarah had something she wanted to add. Sarah says, yes, this has a lot to do with your upcoming election, Mitch. We are getting reports through the Blarty app that many people from Silicon Valley would like to move to Pittsburgh and support your movement and candidacy. They want to buy a house in Pittsburgh, but they want to buy a house on the same block as their co-workers so that they can all pitch in and rent a van or drive them to work. They want to be eco-friendly and carpool, but they don't want to drive all over the place picking up co-workers. These technology workers are complaining through the app that they can't find a way to buy a block of houses at a time. Our administrators block their messages when they offer to buy the entire block at overpriced rates. Should we change our policy to allow these people to make offers on real estate? Mitch says, we are not a real estate platform. We are a rental platform, and we need to stay true to our roots. However, I do believe our platform should evolve to a new stage. Imagine if we could harness the wealth of Silicon Valley to totally transform a city over a 10 or 15-year period. After that, Silicon Valley moves to another city and transforms it in a similar way, learning from the previous project. I'm suggesting that Blarty facilitate this type of movement in an ethical way. The original homeowners retain their property, but Blarty has a special feature that allows people to lease a property for 15 years and lock in the rate for that period of time. The leaser is responsible for all upkeep and improvements of the property and must leave it in better condition than when they moved in. This would allow elderly people to collect rent for 15 years instead of being forced to sell their house and move into assisted living. These old people could hand their house down to their family and be assured that the value would go up. Angelina says, so you're saying that the leaser must make some kind of improvements to the house as part of their lease. Mitch says, there would be an agreed upon dollar amount the leaser would have to put into the house. Any renovation would have to be approved by the homeowner. Think of these wealthy technology workers from Silicon Valley. They probably have enough money to totally gut a Pittsburgh house and rewire, insulate, and even put solar panels on the house. They invest the money at the front end to make the house everything they want and then lease it for 15 years. They'll relinquishing it back to the homeowner and moving on to the next city their company relocated to. Maybe they renovate 2 houses in their lifetime, then retire to a condo in the islands. They're happy knowing they changed the world in their own way and fought climate change. Lucy says, or they could treat them as 15-year investments and use the Blarty app to rent them at a higher rate than their lease agreement. Eco-tourists will pay more to stay in a green property. Mitch says, either they live in it or they rent it out. But the point is that these houses are getting the improvements they need to make a carbon-neutral city. I believe this is a noble goal for the Blarty platform and hope you will approve this proposal. Actress Charlize Theron says, to be clear, you envision a city like Pittsburgh partnering with companies in Silicon Valley to develop the infrastructure needed to move their headquarters to that city. They move the headquarters and their employees choose to move there as well, bringing their wealth to invest in homes in and around Pittsburgh. Then after 10 or 15 years, these companies vote on which city to focus on next. Every decade, a new city gets converted to a carbon-neutral model. Mitch says, you summarized it well, Charlize. I think this is a logical new feature to offer through the Blarty app, and I think we should put it to a vote. Sarah says, you may lock in your votes now. The Wyndham Grand Hotel in downtown Pittsburgh overlooks Point State Park, where the Ohio River is formed by 2 rivers. Mitch strolls into the hotel bar and sees international singing sensation Taylor Spliff surrounded by fans. He beckons for the bartender, who obliges. Mitch says, let me get an ice water, and when you shine a beam of light through the rocks glass, it should be brown. The bartender smiles and grabs a bottle of Jim Beam, pouring it into the rocks glass. She adds ice and water, then pops in a little plastic stir stick. Mitch stirs the drink, then takes the straw out and sets it on the bar top. He walks over to the small crowd surrounding Taylor as she finishes signing the autograph. Mitch says, Miss Spliff, I believe we have a meeting. Taylor says, yes, I made arrangements to do this in my room. As you can see, it is quite difficult to do anything in public, but I wanted to meet you down here. Would you follow me to the elevator? The two stand side by side in the elevator as it ascends the hotel. Taylor says, I've arranged for dinner in the room. I hope you like Cornish game hen. Mitch says, sounds lovely. Taylor opens the door to a large suite. The view of the Three Rivers is spectacular. She uncovers 2 dinner plates, and he pours the wine. Taylor waits until Mitch uses his fingers to eat a chicken leg before she dirties her hands. They make light conversation throughout the meal. Mitch says, I'm glad you wanted to meet. Taylor says, are you going to finally ask me to be part of your company? Mitch says, there are strict guidelines and a voting process for the ownership of the company. Is that why you wanted to meet with me? Taylor says, those Hollywood actresses never let me buy in. Can't you talk some sense into them? Mitch says, I can try, but I have another very important avenue you may like to try. Taylor says, what is it? Like a patent I should get or an app I should launch? Mitch says, no, it's a bit different. How would you like to help me take on the natural gas industry? Taylor says, so it's like a secret mission. We're going to take down the frackers. Mitch says, it starts very simple. You sponsor a house in your hometown of Reading for artists. Taylor says, so I buy a house and let artists stay there for free. What does that have to do with natural gas? Mitch says, the natural gas provider of Pittsburgh has a special insurance program. You see, years ago, politicians made it law that the homeowner is responsible for any damage to the gas line from the curb connection into the house. So if there's a rupture or some other damage, the homeowner has to pay out of pocket to replace the line. The gas company offers an insurance program that homeowners pay into, and they can get their damaged line replaced at no cost. Taylor says, sounds like a good program. Mitch says, now the gas company is also upgrading its pipeline system throughout the city of Pittsburgh and other cities like Reading. I have a theory that the gas company waits until the homeowners on a block have paid the insurance for several years, and then they replace the gas lines on that block. I believe they may track the blocks with the most amount of people paying insurance, and then replace that block after they have collected enough insurance money to pay for it. Basically, I believe that homeowners paying the insurance are footing the bill for infrastructure improvements to the gas line system in major cities. Taylor says, Reading is not a major city. Mitch says, I know, but this theory is so difficult to prove that I think starting at a small city might be the way to go. Taylor says, so where does the artist house come into play? Mitch says, I want you to manage the artists and let them in on the theory. Their goal is to investigate the gas company and prove that they are doing this. The artists go door to door offering to hand paint a design on those ugly gas meters in front of people's houses for a fee. They support themselves by painting gas meters and work with the homeowner to come up with a design. The homeowner gets a discount if they fill out a survey. On that survey, they are asked if they pay for the insurance and how long they have been paying. The artists can then put together a database of how much money homeowners have paid in and map out where the gas line improvements have been made. Taylor says, it sounds a bit daunting. Mitch says, it will take years, but we have to start somewhere. I hope you will consider taking on this project. I think it is very important. Taylor says, do you think this will get me into the company? Mitch says, I think it's a good way to get involved. As I said, I'll try to talk to them. Taylor says, I'll do it. This is exciting. Mitch says, keep me updated on your progress. Here's my personal number. Dinner was great. I can't thank you enough. I really should be going now. Taylor says, you have to at least stay until the wine is finished. It's like a rule. Mitch says, I can't argue with that. Mitch is in his office at the old brewery. Sienna knocks on Mitch's door and leads a reporter from USA Today into his office. She introduces the reporter. The reporter takes out a notebook. The reporter says, the election is closing in fast. What would you do in your first 10 days if elected? Mitch says, one of the first things I would do, or at least bring to a vote, is to make the male restrooms at the courthouse unisex. I think it makes sense to make male bathrooms unisex because they have both urinals and toilets. I believe that the male-dominated legal system has been making too many deals in bathrooms that female lawyers aren't privy to. This would level the playing field so that female lawyers could use the same bathroom as their male counterpart. I think that all courthouses should follow suit, but I can only be mayor of one city at a time. The reporter says, anything else? Mitch says, I think that women have been outnumbering men as far as going to college for many years now, and it is a shame that women don't outnumber men at the highest levels of government. Now, I believe in direct democracy, and I believe the best government would be formed by allowing democracy to decide it. I would let each individual department within the local government vote on who their leader should be. I will propose 2 internal hires and 1 external hire in case a department wants to bring someone in from outside. Their bio and resume will be available through the government voting site, and employees will log in using their employment ID to vote on who should be appointed. My goal is to appoint all minority females to any political appointments I have available. Therefore, I will only put forward candidates that meet that criteria. There are plenty of women qualified for these positions right here in our city. The reporter says, do you consider yourself a feminist? Mitch says, I feel that empowering women is the right thing to do, and that's why I do it. For me, it's not about labeling myself as some sort of gender-specific movement. The sexes should be equal. There are 7 billion people around the world, and most of them oppress women in some way. So even if the sexes were equal in the United States, which they're not, billions of women remain oppressed. I believe we should experience a time in the United States where women are more powerful than men so that they can focus on fixing international issues of equality among the sexes. Men should sacrifice some of their power to make the world a better place. Males have been in control of most of the world for thousands of years, and we have experienced many wars and famine. I wholly believe that it would be difficult for women in power to do a worse job of healing society. The reporter says, how would you help women become more powerful? Mitch says, I think that if we are ever going to have a female president, we should come together and form a political party for women. I would call this party the Femme Party. They should have some simple goals. One goal would be to have an all-female FBI. This way, women have their own intelligence agency working for women globally. Secondly, I think that at least 2 of the branches of the military should be all-female. This way, the military can prioritize missions that will bring equality to females globally. I also believe it will help solve the issue of rape and sexual harassment in the military. A third goal is that local, state, and federal government should have a mandate to match the population of the country. This means that if males and females have a 50-50 split in the population, that each Congress should also be made up of 50% males and 50% females. The representative positions designated for females remain vacant until they can be filled by a female or someone that identifies as female. The reporter says, these are some pretty lofty goals. Do you really think you could have an all-female branch of the military? Mitch says, sure, if you pick the right branches, there is redundancy. As long as you can offer the same jobs to females as you do the males, I believe it will be equal. For example, there are pilots in every branch of the military. As long as males and females qualify to be pilots, they shouldn't be upset about being out of one specific branch. As long as the entire military has exactly the same job options available to women and men, I think we could move forward with this goal. The reporter says, shifting to the economy, how do you feel about totally automated factories? Mitch says, I believe these factories have a place in our economy if they are used ethically. For example, if we totally automated a recycling factory for a specific product. Say a company makes a product like a television in an automated factory. After several years, the televisions are sent back to the factory to be recycled. And on certain days, the factory reverses its operation to break that television down into its component parts. The problem is that models change every other year, and the factory retools multiple times before the original model fails and is ready to be recycled. The factory has changed its original manufacturing design and therefore would need investment to go back to its original function before it can be reversed for recycling. This is why we launched the Zen 10 Marketplace, to lock in designs for at least 10 years so that the factories can focus on recycling the products they produced. The reporter says, you talk about automated factories being used ethically. Where would you start? Mitch says, I would begin by partnering with the military to make a totally automated factory that breaks down their standard issue rifle into its component parts. These parts could then be melted down to build other military units such as tanks or Humvees. I think it is the most ethical purpose for the first totally automated factory. If the military adopted a policy of building and maintaining such a factory for some or all of its weapons, I believe it could open the U.S. up to signing new types of treaties. Nations could come together and say that it is unethical for another country to field a military if they do not have a factory designed to recycle some or all of their standard issue equipment. You could see how this could lead to discussions of nuclear disarmament as well. The reporter says, you are running as an independent in this election. Any chance you will change your affiliation to Femme Party? Mitch says, if there is enough interest in forming that party, then I would be honored to run for mayor under their banner. The reporter says, thank you for this interview. I think this will be an interesting article. Mitch says, thank you. So that's the end of Chapter 8 of Femme Party. And before I get to the sponsors, I end every chapter by saying there are some ideas for technology apps and things of that nature that could be developed by technology companies or startups, and they're in the book, but I've saved some and kept some out of the book that I'd like to develop myself. I've also saved some money to invest, so I'm looking for partners, people that are computer science majors or work in the computer science industry, to partner up with me and develop a social media platform. This social media platform is designed to fight misinformation on the internet. If you'd like to hear a description of the social media platform, I can send it to you via email. You can contact me through the contact forms on my websites, plotm.com or mitchformayor.com, and just explain that you're a computer science person that may be interested and want to see a description. Or if you're interested in investing, specify that you're an investor interested, and I can send you a description. So now to the advertisements. Looking for family camping at its best? Look into French Creek Farm in Utica, Pennsylvania. With luxurious sites near the French Creek, right along the French Creek, you can kayak right into your site, or the cottage, or the trapper cabin. While you're in Utica, why not stop by Krabby Kelly's and have a drink? This general store and bar is right along French Creek and next to the Utica Bridge. Jump off the Utica Bridge into the swimming hole and stop by for a frozen cocktail. Stop by Krabby Kelly's for all your STDs. That's snacks, tobacco, and drinks. Are you in Incheon, South Korea? Stop by Liquor Burger and get yourself a burger and a mug of suds. It's all in the name, Liquor Burger. Tell them Mitch sent you. Looking to get a logo embroidered or screen printed on a garment of clothing? Look no further than 542 Prints. Go to 542prints.com today and email them about your next design. And finally, would you like to see outdoor video? Check out a playlist on the YouTube channel Disability TV. Go to Disability TV and there are playlists of entire hikes, kayak voyages, and bicycling trips. Check out Disability TV today for wholesome outdoor video. Thanks for listening, and tune in for the next chapter.